So, there are moments in history that change everything. In 1919, one single day sent a massive shockwave through the entire British Empire. We're talking about an event so brutal it ripped the mask off colonial rule and completely changed India's fight for freedom. This is the story of the Jallianwala Bagh Massacre.
Now, you might think a quote like that comes from an Indian revolutionary, right? Nope. That's Winston Churchill. Yeah, that Winston Churchill. One of the biggest, staunchest defenders of the British Empire you could possibly find. The fact that he called it a monstrous event, well, that tells you just about everything you need to know about the scale of the horror we're about to get into.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Picture this. It's April 13th, 1919. We're in the city of Amritsar. Thousands of people, men, women, children, they're all gathered peacefully in this big walled garden, a place called Jallianwala Bagh. And then, out of nowhere, with absolutely no warning, British troops marched in. They're led by a man named Brigadier General Dyer. They block the only real way out and just open fire, right into the dense, trapped crowd. And you know, the moment the shooting stopped, two completely different stories started to take shape. It was immediate. The official British count, they claimed 379 people died. But the Indian National Congress, they did their own investigation, and they came back with a number over 1,000. This huge gap, right from the start, shows you we're dealing with two totally separate realities here.
And you'd think the horror ended there, but no. As terrible as the massacre was, what happened next just poured salt on the wound. The entire city was put under this brutal, humiliating martial law. Now let's be clear, this wasn't about restoring order. This was about punishment, inflicting collective punishment on everyone. And just to give you an idea of what that punishment looked like, they instituted something called the crawling order. You heard that right. Indians were forced to get on their hands and knees and crawl down a specific street where a British missionary had been attacked earlier. It was a calculated, deliberate act of dehumanization. The whole point was to break the spirit of the city. But it didn't even stop there. They started doing public floggings for the smallest things. They cut off the water supply, shut off the electricity to Indian neighborhoods. I mean, this goes way beyond suppression. This was systematic terror. So, how did the British establishment back in London react when they heard about all this?
Well, when the news finally got back to London, it caused a massive uproar. An official inquiry was set up. It was called the Hunter Commission. But the reaction in Britain, it was completely split down the middle. It revealed this shocking divide, a crack running right through the heart of the empire.
So you have General Dyer testifying at this commission. And you might expect him to be a little defensive, right? Not at all. He was completely unrepentant. He didn't even pretend he was just trying to disperse a dangerous crowd. No, he said his goal, his intention, was to terrorize them, to produce a sufficient moral effect. He wanted to punish them. And think about this. As horrific as the death toll was, it could have been so much worse. Dyer himself admitted it. He said the only reason he didn't use machine guns on the crowd was because the armored cars they were mounted on couldn't physically fit through the narrow entrance to the garden. It's absolutely chilling.
Okay, and this is where the official reaction just gets wild. In the House of Commons, you have people like Churchill condemning the massacre. But then you go to the House of Lords, and what do? They pass a motion praising General Dyer, thanking him for saving India. Can you believe that? The British Empire was literally at war with itself over what had happened. And this wasn't just some political squabble. A major newspaper, the Morning Post, starts up a public fundraiser for General Dyer. And get this, they raised over 26,000 pounds for him. That was an insane amount of money back then. So for a huge chunk of the British public, Dyer wasn't a villain, he was a hero.
So for so many people in India, this was the moment the mask well and truly slipped. Any last shred of belief in British justice or this idea of a fair, benevolent empire, it was just shattered, gone. And the massacre didn't crush the independence movement like Dyer hoped. Oh no, it ignited it like never before. The aftermath was just a massive catalyst for change. You had Mahatma Gandhi, who had previously been willing to cooperate with the British, launching his first ever nationwide non-cooperation movement. You had huge intellectual figures like the Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore taking a very powerful public stand. And maybe most importantly, it lit a fire under a whole new generation of younger revolutionaries, people like Bhagat Singh, who now believed a much more direct fight was necessary.
And Tagore's protest was incredibly powerful. He wrote this letter to the viceroy, basically giving back the knighthood the British had awarded him. His words just echoed across the world. He was saying, These titles are a sham. They just highlight our shame when you inflict this kind of humiliation on my people. It was such a profound statement.
So, here we are, over a century later, and the memory of Jallianwala Bagh, it hasn't faded one bit. The event left these incredibly deep scars, and the conversation about what happened is still going on today, especially when it comes to the question of accountability.
You know, if you go to Jallianwala Bagh today, it's a national memorial. And they've done something very deliberate there. They've preserved the original walls. The bullet holes are still there, many of them circled in white paint. It's a raw, physical reminder. It's there to make sure nobody can ever forget what happened on that ground.
And that road to reconciliation, it's been really long, and it feels unfinished. You see a survivor finally taking his revenge decades later. And more recently, you've had British prime ministers visit. They've used words like deeply shameful or expressed deep regret. But notice the one word that's always missing? Apology. A formal, official state apology has never been given.
Look, Jallianwala Bagh was so much more than a tragedy. It was a moment of terrible clarity. It completely exposed the lie of the Empire's civilization mission. It showed that when the British were really challenged, their final answer was just raw, brutal violence. The irony is, in trying to terrorize India into submission, General Dyer did the exact opposite. He united the country in anger and grief, and in doing so, he actually sped up the end of the very empire he thought he was saving.
And all of this leaves us with a big, lingering question, one that's still relevant today. When you're talking about a historical wound this deep, a scar that has lasted for over 100 years, is just saying you regret it enough? Or does real reconciliation, true healing between nations, require something more? Does it require the simple but powerful act of a formal apology?